This is Coshun Cast, and today we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers coming off their bye week, and they go up against their arch rival Chicago Bears. We'll break it all down for you. Plus, we'll talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, winners of 10 of their last 11 games, how they're getting it done with the big three intact. That's next on Coshun Cast. Everybody, welcome to Coshun Cast. Great to have you aboard here this week. It's getting chilly outside. We're ready for some football. We're ready for some basketball. We're getting in that mood right now. Craig Coshun along with James Stewart. James, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Speaking of chilly, it was 12 degrees when I dropped my kids off at school today, so that's fun.
No, it's not.
It's the thing about winter. It's like, in the anticipation of winter, you're like, okay, some snow's coming. It'll be cool. It'll be fun. It's beautiful, the first snow. But then you get like that 12 degrees and you're just like, this is terrible. This is because the snow is now hard. We don't have snow yet, but at 12 degrees, the snow is like ice. So it's just, we're getting ready for a nice long winter again.
I will say this. Yesterday I was in Madison and got up and it was 34 degrees there. I walked the dogs. It was really windy. And 2 hours later, I went out to come down to Milwaukee, and the temperature dropped 10 degrees. It was beyond freezing. Got down here to Milwaukee, looked out at the river. River's still flowing nice, the Milwaukee River. Woke up this morning to a glaze of ice out there. So that shows you how cold it is for sure. Yeah. So here we go, man. But you know what?
Here's my real question, though. When the kids come back for winter break, do you have to fight with them to wear gloves, or does that end? Because feel like
no.
Because I feel like I'm like begging my kids to wear hats and gloves. It's like
so. Here's the rule. When I was growing up, if my mom was cold, we were cold.
Yeah.
And my mom never went out of the house. And she bundled us up like if she were to go out of the house.
Yeah.
So it's just like Halloween. Just like Halloween. You get dressed up in your outfit and whatever it is, your costume, and nobody saw it because you were wearing a winter jacket, hats and gloves and boots. So
yeah. Midwest Halloween. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes you actually get to wear the costume, and sometimes you get to wear a parka.
I never knew what I was. I was just dressed for cold weather. So
you were warm. That's what you were.
I was warm. Yeah. I'll tell you what. But I was going to say, here's the thing, though. Now it's time to get the fire going. Watch a little Packer football on what's now becoming either late Sunday afternoons or Sunday night games coming up. They've got 5 regular season games to go. They're 9-3. They're in really good shape, James, to, potentially go after this number 1 seed. I think that's the goal right now. It's the only one that has the bye week in the playoffs, and you automatically gain home field advantage. And they're 10-0 at home. Well, they've won their last 10 straight home games. That's the longest home winning streak they've had in 5 seasons. So I think it's important right now. I'm really feeling like the Lambeau magic and mystique is potentially coming back to this team right now.
Well, and, it feels like, the Brett Favre era was like, as long as they get a home game, they're good, right? You felt like they were always going to win it at Lambeau Field. And there was a period where that kind of went away a little bit during Aaron Rodgers' tenure. It started out that way. It's kind of come back to being that way. But I still just feel like you can't understate the fact that playoff football in Green Bay, if the weather does what it's supposed to do, we have the advantage. There was the weird game last year against the Rams. It wasn't really that cold. I want to say it was like 40 degrees, which was like came out of nowhere. Yeah. But normally, you think of December football, you think of the snow games, and undoubtedly that should be home field advantage. And it's just going to be, I think it's just going to be even more important that that they just get that done with and get it over with and secure that spot. It'll just, it's just one less thing to think about. It feels like, especially now with the emergence of Dylan. Like if they can really ground and pound in the cold, they'll be good.
Well, what'd you think of the Monday night game last night? You got New England and Buffalo. You got 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and Bill Belichick decides to run the football. They ran for over 200 yards, and I think threw 3 passes, if I'm not mistaken, for like 19 yards total. But I mean, that's taking care of the element. Now that's a team for like over on the NFC side. You don't want to be facing another cold team coming in Lambeau because the Patriots are just more ready for that game last night. You're thinking of Buffalo, man, that's a home game. How can you guys lose that? But a little different scenario there. But just the fact that, you bring up the running game with Dylan and how important that is, what we saw and what we've seen in deep Packer playoff runs in our modern day history, in the Brett Favre days especially, and what this team, how this team has been put together, behind Aaron Rodgers too, how important that run game really is now that we're well into December, and we're going to be playing well into January, by the way, because the season's longer now.
Right.
So what we don't start playoffs, like if the Packers get a bye, what would be their first playoff game, the 3rd week or the 4th weekend of January?
Right, which is right in the swing of the cold. Like it's usually like we hope for like a snowy Christmas, but after that, it's like it just seems like after Christmas the real winter sets in.
Yeah.
But
can I swear on here and just let it all hang out? That's what I think about winter.
Yeah. What's interesting though is like you look at that Monday night game for example. One, I think maybe we need to swing that pendulum back to like how impressive Bill Belichick is. Because after Brady won the Super Bowl last year, it was kind of like, well, maybe Brady was doing all that. But obviously, with Mac Jones and their run game, like you're right. They didn't need to run. They didn't need to throw the ball, and they knew it. And that is exactly. I don't really ever see that happening for the Packers just because of the pure fact you have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, but we have seen over the last couple of weeks that they have somewhat of a two-headed monster. When Jones is healthy, he runs hard too. I mean, it's a different hard than Dylan, obviously. Mm-hmm. Dylan's more of running hard into tackles as opposed to running hard in the linebackers and corners. But it's setting up nicely, and it's kind of, I feel like we're watching this as the season goes. We're watching and we're just seeing, like, I don't know what this team is yet. I don't know. They don't feel like they're dependent on the pass now because of this running game, but they're obviously not depending on the running game because they have Aaron Rodgers. And then the defense is really stepping up. So playoff football could be fun. Obviously, like you said, it still feels like it's a long ways away, 5 weeks away, which also they're on their bye week, or we're on their bye week. There's another bye week. Like, how it feels like the bye is going incredibly late into the season for some of these teams, which I guess is nice, but
well, I think in this case it is for Green Bay because it's the latest they've ever had a bye. And if you're 9-3 and you look at a couple of those losses, saying maybe the Packers should have won those a couple of those games at least. I mean, the only game they got trounced was the opener,
right? But we can just throw that away. We can just pretend that didn't happen because that's not the same team.
No, and they're set up for something really good here, because here's the other thing that's probably going to happen here. At least it seems to be on pace for it. Left tackle David Bakhtiari, outside linebacker Zadarius Smith, and J.R. Alexander, cornerback, are all set to start practicing. It seems here again and do full participation with the team. I mean, Bakhtiari's been out, as we know, since a year ago at this time. But Smith and Alexander went down really early in the season and haven't played since. But you get those guys back, you're talking about the highest of quality fresh bodies
Yeah.
potentially helping out this team, you know, in the final weeks of the regular season
and
the
all
playoffs.
impact
Exactly.
players.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think like Bakhtiari specifically, like there just has to be for Rodgers just a comfort and a load off knowing that you're adding that guy back to the line. You don't have to worry about him.
Right.
There's trust there. There's you know that guy's going to take care of what he needs to take care of. And then to me, it's either him, Bakhtiari, or Alexander that is going to be the biggest biggest return. Obviously, Darius Smith is going to be huge too because it's pass rushing. But I've been so impressed by what Stokes and Douglas have kind of been able to do in Jair Alexander's absence, which, you know, at one point we were talking about Jair Alexander as if he was at least top 3 corners in the league.
Yeah.
So you're adding that back after what we've seen Douglas, a practice squad guy, make multiple huge impact plays. You know, the end of the Cardinals game, then the pick 6, like taking that guy and putting him and taking a little bit of pressure and a little bit of responsibility off his shoulder and then giving it back to now your starting A1 corner. That can do nothing but good. I would think, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the Packers defense, 12 games into a regular season, has allowed the fewest yards since the 2010 defense.
Yeah.
We all know what happened in 2010. What the end result of that season was, the last Super Bowl championship for the Packers, and the yardage is very close. I'm not sure the Packers defense in 2010 endured as many injuries as they did this year, and you hope they're done with that. That's for sure. But it's been really amazing, you know, to watch how this team has covered itself for injuries. I mean, it's off the charts.
Exactly.
And, you know, there's still talk about Rodgers still potentially could have, you know, some surgery to fix up that toe. You know, I'm still baffled that if that's really something that's high on a list of possibilities, that it didn't happen during this, you know, bye week stretch. But,
right.
You know, I don't know. And Love is out now on the COVID-19 list, so he's not going to be available.
Who is that?
Jordan Love.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah. Well, it's obviously you need a backup, but
I'll back up.
Yeah, right. Well, judging by that Chiefs game, you might be all right.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked it up. They're currently 3rd in defense, so scoring, defense, and total defense. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. It does very much feel like the Super Bowl year, and if you remember that Super Bowl year, there was a lot of injuries that year too, and it just kind of felt like every week something happened to cover up whatever injuries there were, and it's, again, Douglas is a prime example of that. Something keeps happening to cover up whatever injuries that they have, and they're making the plays in the moment, and you got to credit their defensive coordinator for that, of course. But yeah, they look like this could be a good playoff run.
I want to talk a little bit about this Packers Bears rivalry, and I don't want to get into the Rodgers part of it yet. I want to save that one.
Yeah.
This is going to be the 204th meeting between the Bears and the Packers. It's the oldest rivalry in the NFL. I don't look at this game and get excited for it as much as I do when I'm watching old clips in the history of the Green Bay Packers, and how exciting it was to see some incredible number of Hall of Famers that played against each other in this rivalry back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and the two coaches, Hallis and Lombardi, that were involved for tremendous success for these franchises. But, you know, over the last, since Brett Favre put on number 4, it's been about as lopsided of a series as it gets. And you always hear these guys saying, if it's not competitive between teams, it's not a rivalry.
Yeah.
I still think it's a rivalry. It's just it's just amazing to me how dominant the Packers continue to be, and it all starts with the quarterback.
Right. I think too, like, speaking of the rivalry aspect, it very much doesn't feel like a competitive rivalry, but it does still feel like a rivalry as far as like fans. I know me personally, I am happy to root against anything Chicago. Bulls, Cubs.
Well, you're a good
White
man,
Sox.
James. I knew you were a good man when we got to do this show.
Like anything. So to me, it doesn't matter. I will be happy to watch them win 59-0. I don't care. Like, yeah. I just want to see Chicago lose. So that's just my personal aspect of it. But I do get that, like, yeah, it doesn't as much feel like a rivalry, and you have to we have to do what we're doing now and say it's the 204th meeting and give the all-time records and do those things to kind of hype this matchup up, because they should win. And just looking at the Bears themselves, like, Justin Fields has promise. It looks like Fields and Nagy are not a match for whatever reason, but we'll see if Fields plays. And if they don't play, then you have Andy Dalton, who is a capable quarterback and, has the arm to make the throws, but you should beat him as well.
So I think there's somebody else that kind of agrees with what we're saying about this is really isn't a rivalry. So how do you make it a rivalry? You score a touchdown on the road in Chicago and say, I own you.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that was Aaron Rodgers the last time these two teams met at Soldier Field in October. And I think, quite frankly, whatever pregame show is going to run on NBC on Sunday night before the game, they could pretty much use that going in and out of every single break. And you're gonna have every Packer fan in the state of Wisconsin and your ratings throughout the country who are Packer fans pretty much stay locked in on that, no doubt about it. So,
well, especially all the controversy surrounding Aaron as it is.
Yeah,
like, he's gonna get, for better or worse, as far as coverage, the COVID thing is never going to go away. They're always going to, nationally, that's always going to be something that they pick at. We'll see if it affects them in MVP voting. But that specific moment is just like, it's also so totally Aaron Rodgers. Because I feel like we all know that he's cocky, right? And he thinks that he is the greatest quarterback ever, right? And he lives up to it in a lot of ways, but he's also very selective in where he steps out and says these, like, incredibly demonstrative claims. You know what I mean? They're not like every week. He doesn't just do this every touchdown. I feel like he makes them count, and he says them with purpose, and it's like he plans them. Like, this is the team that I want to let know. And if you notice, like, even with the belt, when he used to do the championship belt, that always came on a run. So if Aaron Rodgers scrambles, which is what happened on the I Own You, it's just, he gets that feeling. Maybe he feels young again, young and spry, and it's just running all over the field and kind of reminds everyone that he is still an athlete, not just an arm. But yeah, it's always funny to me that that's when that stuff comes out, because that's when he's most amped, when he runs a touchdown, and all of a sudden he's Superman again.
Well, that's because after he throws a pass, the camera's not on him the full time.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Except
for the one pass where he got hit and his helmet's all off.
So what you're saying is Aaron Rodgers is calculated, is what
he knows where the camera is. I'll say
quite
that.
Calculated.
Yeah,
and he is, and but that's part of his winning persona,
yes,
though.
It's all part of that brain up there that makes him who he is.
It is, but that's also part of his gamesmanship during play. I mean, that's how he can draw you off sides, or he can count on the field. He knows if there's a 12th guy that's not going to get off the field. I mean, this is stuff that a normal quarterback can't do. So However, you want to describe, Aaron Rodgers, it's amazing to me how it goes full circle with him.
Yeah.
It's not just what he does is very calculated. It's not choppy. Everything has purpose. It seems like he's very centered in that way. And I don't want to say that is anything more than maybe a compliment.
Right.
And maybe a little bit of admiration, but it's also fact and true.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around too long for us not to know that.
Well, and that's like, you look at like in the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, like the three preeminent quarterbacks in my eyes are Brady, Manning, and Rodgers. And Rodgers has aspects of both of those guys. He's very cerebral in his pre-snap, very much like Peyton Manning was. But he's also kind of got that fire that comes out of it doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but Tom Brady in a lot of ways picks his spots to get fired up too. So there's a lot of there's a lot of the throws that you see that are amazing that both those guys are just like, yeah, that's what I do. But then there's those moments of like fire that you see, and they feel very, I don't want to say that they feel calculated in that like I'm expecting them, because I'm not, but they feel like when you see them and then think about it afterwards, you think to yourself, he was letting a specific person know. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very funny in how they come out. Because a lot of the throws that are amazing and that the announcers go nuts about, there's just no emotion to it. It's just a little like fist pump and keep moving,
Yeah.
But there's those moments where he takes to let you know, I own you.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. Like, and the record 22-5 says it. Like it's almost. I'm trying, like when I look at that record now, I'm trying to think in my head, when were those 5 wins? Like I know there was one in the playoffs, but outside of that, the other 4 wins aren't memorable.
Well, I didn't even think about the playoff one. I mean,
right.
To be honest with you, I mean, I don't even know when that was, but
I know it happened. I don't remember when it was, but I know it happened. And it's just like that is dominance. And when he says something like I own you, and then you go look up the number and you're like, well, yeah. Like what am I supposed to say to that?
Well, the best part of when that happened was the reaction that and I don't know who was the first to put it out there, but they took a screenshot of the Bears media guide under ownership of the team and replaced a Hallis name with
on Wikipedia
with Aaron Rodgers. That was pretty clever because that was done like within seconds after that happening.
Which I mean, I feel like also we got to give a shout out to the audio guy of that game, because to pick up that audio is like it's just amazing. Those are like the things that we sometimes take for granted that happen around our games now, is that there's just microphones everywhere and they pick up, and we had so much more insight than before. You had to wait until Brett Favre was willing to say that in a post-game press conference to hear that before. You know what I mean? And that's a whole different setting. Now you're seeing these guys in the moment with the excitement and adrenaline pumping, saying what they we really hear what they say, which is amazing.
Well, it is, and I want to let the people who are listening and watching know that this is where James' strength comes in here. This is his background. He's a producer first, so he sits in the truck with these guys. He knows what everybody's single position is and single responsibilities are, and then their team. There's a team of audio people that obviously are out on the field getting things set up, and then you have your chief audio personnel who's in the truck mixing stuff and making sure it happens. So
there's just so many people that go into that too. That's kind of like, I feel like we have a different appreciation for that too, because we know all the stuff that goes into the background of it. So when I see stuff like that, when I'm watching a game, especially when I'm not watching like one of our games, it pumps me up, and I just know that like they got to be going nuts in that truck because they got a golden moment. Like, those are the things like when you're doing a show that you're just like, that moment right there made the show. That's it. Like, everything about this show from now on is gravy because we have that moment.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, and I don't have the best ears, and I probably have Fisher Price speakers connected to my old tube TV. So it took me a while to figure out what he said, but I saw it on social media. So
and social media takes those moments and just runs with them.
Well, they do. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. All right, so you have the Packers and Bears coming up Sunday night football after the bye week. The Packers are one of the best teams since the bye was implemented in coming out, actually going in and coming out with victories. But that's also part of how you make a championship run, how you take care of business, how you come back, how you're all business when you're rested up, when you've had time away, and the Packers are in that spot now with 5 regular season games to go. Again, the number 1 seed in each conference is the only team now that gets a week off before they play in a playoff game. So that's the goal, and of course, home field advantage. So that's where the Packers sit here right now. All right, little Packer talk there. Let's shift gears. Want to shift gears over to the Buck side?
Yeah. Which is that the first time we started with Packers?
It is. And you know what? I'm not sure why. I think because they were off.
Yeah. It's like we were missing it.
Well, I did. I mean, I text my boys, some GIF that was like on board. There's no Packer game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Which
it's so weird too. Like, the bye weekend is it's relaxing, and then that, like, you don't have to worry about your team winning or losing. But it also, like, for me, I missed the start of all the games because I knew the Packers weren't playing, and I just wasn't paying attention. And my fantasy teams got all messed up because of that. But I just missed the beginning of the week, and it's weird. But I'm happy they're back, and I got a lot of friends in Chicago, so it'll be a good week for me, hopefully.
That's good. That'll be fun. So the Bucks are becoming a pretty fun team again right now. They've hit a stride. It took them a while, obviously, beginning of the season, trying to implement a couple of new guys, work through some injuries. We saw Giannis obviously just completely dominate and still has missed a couple of games. Came back yesterday on his 27th birthday, scores 27 points in 27 minutes.
Yeah.
Who writes these scripts, man?
Yeah, 15 in the fourth quarter.
For me, that good, just so you know.
That's I can't. How do you plan something? And, like, you're not 27, so the numbers are getting a little high if I want to match numbers with you. But
I would have to play. If I did minutes match to my age, it would be at least double overtime.
Yeah. They have to go into 2 games.
Exactly.
But they are getting fun, and it's crazy because it feels like they're finally gelling, but also at the same time, there's been 3 new additions, and somehow they're gelling while adding, which is interesting. We've seen Cousins. Obviously, he's not going to do everything that Brooke did, but he is a big body, and he is doing what he does well. We've seen him be an active and willing passer, and the shots are still falling from Pat. From Grayson had a little bit of an off game, but Pat is still on fire. I don't know when I'm going to – it's like I believe it, but I don't know when I'm going to be ready to say that this is now who Pat Connaughton is. Like, I still – the game against Toronto, when he missed that corner 3, I was actually, like, shocked.
Yeah, me too.
Right, like, it was like that's not this year's Pat Connaughton. This year's Pat Connaughton knocks that down. So it was weird to see that, and it was awesome because I feel like he's stepping into that role. But yeah, it's everything's kind of coming together. And Giannis only had 2 assists last night, but there was a couple of missed open threes, which if those 3 threes that I can specifically remember go down, then he's sitting at 5 again, which is his average, and he's taken it to another level, and it's kind of crazy to see how much confidence I feel like he has in every shot, even the threes. Like it's fun to watch, and especially now that kind of Jrue looks like he's getting back to form. You saw we were talking about this earlier. I don't know 100%. But if I remember, this is at least one of the few, if not the only game that all 3 of those guys were in scored 20. So if that's going, and the fact that if you got all those guys scoring 20, and now part of that might be the fact that Bobby only had 10 last night, which Bobby's been 15 or higher for like the last week and a half. So maybe that's where those 5-6 points have gone. But yeah, they're really getting to a point where they're starting to look like Bucks basketball again, and it's fun.
Well, I'm going to go back to Pat Connaughton just for a second, because yesterday on our pregame show, we broke down his catch and shoot, and I thought Novak did a really good job of picking the right plays to showcase where he is and what he did last year and what he's doing this year.
Yeah.
And passing the ball a year ago wide open from 3-point range, it was like you could just tell it was the first thing that he decided to do. Now, whether that was coached or not, I don't think so. I think it's just Pat and his confidence.
Yeah.
Now this year, because I had mentioned this when we were started to put some things together, I said he reminds me now, Connaughton does, of a true, almost old school catch and shoot.
Yeah.
And when you can catch and shoot from 24 to 28 feet away, and have the accuracy this guy's put together this year, that's saying a lot about how far he's come. And we also compared some numbers. His first year with the Bucks, he averaged per game 0.8 made 3-pointers. Last year it was 1.5 average per game. This year it's 2.5. That's a whole. I mean, every year he's gone up one full made 3 per game. That's per game.
Yeah.
So it's if he's at 2.5 made, I mean you skew that up to 3 usually, and we know a couple of times this year he's already had games of 7 made 3s. Right. It just goes to show you, that 3 missed against Toronto down the stretch on the road. He hasn't had many opportunities, if any, like that. So it's tough to come through, in the clutch like that. But you know what? He finally saw an opportunity. He had an opportunity, and I still say this. I said this on yesterday's show too. He's gonna be in a spot where games are close and they're going to need him to score. He's had tremendous fourth quarters already this year, but it's that final 30, that final 20, maybe that final shot of the game where I think he's earned his stripes to get that opportunity.
You know what, too, I've noticed, I don't have any numbers to back this up. But one thing that I've kind of noticed and just seen is I've seen him knock down the semi-fast break corner 3.
Yeah.
Where he's it looks like he's there's a difference between like his catch and shoot, standing still, waiting for the ball, and that running, stopping, shooting. His kind of quick release form from that corner has gotten way more consistent, where he clearly feels like he can fire it up. Like I feel like last year and even the year before that, it was kind of like catch it, like you were saying, if I'm open, shoot it. Now it's like they're coming to me to shoot it.
Yeah.
This is the reason they're passing me the ball. So when he catches it, it's an instant, no hesitation shot. And I feel like the fact that he's knocking those down just tells you exactly where he is. Like he knows his role and the team knows his role. Like, and that's this whole like let it fly attitude that they have is basically telling everyone shoot when you're open. But there's still another level when you, in your mind, make the decision they're coming to me to shoot. Yeah, I'm expected to shoot this ball when it gets to me, and that's why they're passing me. This isn't a ball movement play. They're giving me the ball to shoot it, and I feel like that's where he is right now, and it's fun to watch. And I don't feel like he's abusing it. I don't feel like there was moments kind of last year where like Bryn Forbes, for example, would come in and like his job was to shoot it, but there were the shots you're just like, come, like that's such a tough shot. You know, if he hits it, great, but that mentality, like he knows he's there to shoot and he's shooting it no matter what. There's like a balance that Pat has seemingly been able to strike where he is taking those first instinct shots, but he's not like it's not like he's shooting 10 a game. You know what I mean? He still knows that he's essentially a role player on this team. And if he gets 7 threes, it's because he was open 7 times. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not because not like a Giannis who I'm taking contested shots. That's just what I'm doing today. You know what I mean? Like that Pat isn't there. And I feel like he's struck such a great balance that I just feel like he knows who he is. And it just shows so much on the court.
I also think, you know, another point on him too. And, you know, when you change seasons, you automatically see, you know, certain players, you know, make a jump and you say, boy, they must have worked on that during the off season. Well, there really wasn't an off season for the Bucks. And I think, you know, in my opinion, what I'm seeing from a couple of guys, you know, Pat, Giannis at the free throw line, especially those two here right now, Bobby Portis.
Portis is on another level for sure.
He's on another level. So I guess the point I may make here is, and I'm not saying that they didn't work during the offseason, but there wasn't much of an offseason. We're talking about weeks to maybe 2 months, maybe, that these guys really would have been able to spend that much time.
Well, and you think too, like with the championship, like that offseason is so muddled with like appearances and taking the trophy everywhere. Like there's just so much going on.
So if you take that date of the championship of going basically through July and the parade and, you know, getting out of Dodge and going to see family and vacationing and then coming back and stuff, and then they report at the end of September, start playing for real in October. There's not a huge window of time there to say, I'm Giannis and I'm going to work on my free throws and shoot 400 free throws a game and get in a different rhythm. I'm not sure that happened. I'm not saying it didn't. But I think my point is, I think because the offseason was short, that these guys have worked themselves into a position where they have the ability to take their game to the next level. They hit a certain plateau that they're on, and then it's time to make that next jump. And I think they've all done that. And I think it's been helpful not to have to think about stuff. It's like, okay, we just won the championship. I went on vacation. I came back, you know, I went to the Olympics, whatever. And then now I'm coming back here and I'm just playing basketball the way it's supposed to be played. We're champions. This is how champions play.
Yeah.
And these guys were playing like that in the finals series as well. Yeah. And so now we have this new season, and these are the steps to go to be a repeat team. You know,
and you know, specifically like Bobby, we've heard Bobby say, I mean, like almost like a broken record, like he just wants to contribute to winning basketball, right? And he, to me, is like the epitome of that. Like he is, you know, I talk about it a lot about just his whole process of coming here, but I feel like, again, then with losing Brook for so long and having him play major minutes, like it feels like unlocked Bobby Portis and got him back to maybe even how he felt coming into the league, where he, you know what I mean? Like he felt like he was he was going to have a good career and he was going to contribute every night on the boards, scoring. Obviously, the 3-point it was kind of unexpected, but he just seems like he is in a place where he can contribute and he's happy. And again, like you said, they're just playing basketball.
Yeah.
Like he just, it's all just working out for him specifically. Pat, it looks like even still we're underestimating the impact of winning, of what winning a championship does to a player, especially they're both younger players too. So like these guys have career ahead of them, and it feels like they're just going to keep ascending. And I'm not saying that either one of them is going to be a superstar, but I'm just saying that as far as role players go,
yeah,
these are going to be two good role players for some time to come, I think.
Well, and I think, to your point too, you just talk about how young these guys still are. Giannis just celebrated his 27th birthday yesterday. This is his 9th year in the league, for God's sake.
What do you get someone like that
for his birthday? I think that, well, I'll tell you what I got him. I went to Chick-fil-A and got him a gift certificate because he's obviously not getting free food from there. So
right.
That's a good question, though. Although that was a pretty good answer.
Yeah, I mean, off the top, yeah, Chick-fil-A. Clearly he likes it.
Can I get free for life? No.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to get him some gift certificates. Yeah, it's fun stuff. I mean, it was. I think my final note, just for Giannis and Bucks talk, is he was banged up going into that game. Yeah. He missed the 2 previous games. He's got a right calf issue. I watched him go through his pre-game routine, around 4:30, like he usually does, and he seemed to have cut that a little bit short. He was questionable up until a half hour before the game. But it was his birthday. It was a home game. Yeah. It was Greek Heritage Night. They had several thousand Greek heritage.
Which isn't that Thanasis' night to start? What's going on here?
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Well, that didn't happen, but but everybody stayed. And after the game, I mean, we did our post game show and left the arena, and they were still filling up a certain area of Pfizer where
it's so cool how they do that,
where they were going to be addressed, and by Giannis and his brother, I'm sure. And I mean, it's amazing, the dedication that this guy, has to the game, to his people, and it's a pretty cool thing to see, that's for sure. And he gave a little boy his jersey, he was all ecstatic and stuff like that.
I can't see enough of that. Like it's so cool to see him do that stuff, the shoes and everything after every game. Yeah. It's just like you can't get enough of that stuff.
No, and the other thing, James, and this is one of my favorite stories when people ask me about covering Giannis and what kind of guy is he. We just described a little bit of what kind of guy he is, and I remember his first birthday with the team when he turned 19. We were on a road trip. I'm sure you've heard this before, but I'm going to share it with everybody. We were on a road trip, and we were in Washington, D.C., and we went to shoot around that morning. And, he wasn't playing. I mean, he was 18 years old, wasn't playing much yet at all. And but, when you're on the road, there's still a lot of focus from, the media on him. And everything was kind of quiet after the shoot around. I went over and, I said, "Hey, happy birthday, big guy," and stuff. And he was like, "Thanks." He was much quieter back in the day. And
yeah,
I could just sense that, he was like, "Oh, thanks." I said, "How you doing, man?" And he goes, "I'm feel very lonely today." And I said, "Why is that?" And he goes, "This is my first birthday without my family." He's 18 years old. His parents and his family, their visas weren't granted yet. After he was drafted in the summer, and this is still early December, and he was like ready to cry, to be honest with you. But that's and you know what, James, that hasn't gone away in him.
No,
I think we all understand that now. But he's one of the coolest cats out there as far as being genuine. That's for sure.
And like I hate when people kind of diminish Thanasis' role on this team as to just being like Giannis's brother.
Yeah.
But like also it is such a cool thing. Like especially for a guy that like outwardly tells the world how much his family means to him. And it's pretty cool to have your brother there and celebrate all these moments with him.
Yep.
But
it's a really good point.
Yeah. What just real quick before we get off, what surprises have you seen kind of from the new additions being Cousins, Matthews, and Smart?
Cousins is more in shape than I thought he was coming in. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure the guy hadn't played at all this year, and he didn't play a ton last year.
And he played on the Clippers, so it's not someone we see a lot.
Right, exactly. I think he played like 40-some games last year out of the 72. So I just think he's still got basketball left in him.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing that stood out and still stands out for me. And I'm telling you, he's going to be due to have a big game or two down the stretch when the team needs it. Wes just stepped right in where he left off. That was the coolest thing about it. I mean, he knows what his role is on this team.
Yep.
He needs to eat up some minutes and play defense, man. And if he gets the opportunity to shoot, fine. But really, that's minor compared to the other two things.
Too, with him specifically, like the emergence of Pat as a shooter takes a lot of pressure off of, because when he was here 2 years ago, he was kind of relied to shoot a lot with that first unit.
He was a primary shooter too. Yeah.
And that kind of has changed, and now he can he can be that defensive stopper and come in and hit a couple of threes, but he's not relied upon to be that main chucker.
Yeah. So I mean those are the two guys that are going to be continuing to play, and this team needs to get a little bit healthier and stay healthy, and I like where they are right now. I thought the additions were absolutely perfect, and they came out of nowhere. Nobody saw them coming.
Yep.
And those are the ones to me that are the best, in my opinion, because that means the team's been thinking about it and they went out and did it. So.
Well, an interesting thing too is like the timing of them. If these two moves happened at the deadline, we'd be talking about them like they're the greatest two acquisitions, huge deadline moves. But the fact that they're happening this early and they're going to have that chance to gel in still leaves kind of the door open for whatever move they want to make at the deadline if they make one.
Right.
So it's I think great moves and Smart. Like, he's obviously an upgrade over Justin Robinson so far. But he's still a two-way guy. We'll see where that goes when Hill and Dante are healthy. But, I've liked what I've seen in the short stint he's been here.
He's played 2 or 3 games, and his best game was clearly on Monday night.
Yeah.
He looked like an NBA player last night.
And he's been aggressive. He hasn't shied away from any shots, which is good to see. If he's hitting them, obviously. But they're making a lot of moves, and this team feels like they know what they need, and they're getting it.
Well, we've got some good stuff going on with them. They're 16-9. They won 10 of 11. They're getting nice winning streak at home. They won 8 straight there too. Now big road trip coming up, 4-gamer starting against the Heat on Wednesday. So that'll be fun to track for sure. I'm going to save my shout out for the next time we're on, because you and I collectively decided to go live on Friday at 10 in the morning. So for those that are watching or listening now, tune in for that one.
Yep.
And we're going to mix it up a little bit and try some new things here, right?
Yeah, we'll be live on YouTube for sure. Possibly also Facebook. I just got to set up a couple things. But get our first live show out and hopefully get some people and some comments and see what happens.
I'm nervous. I'm not used to doing things live.
No, I'm nervous. This will be the first time I'm live.
Oh, that's why I'm nervous, to be honest with you.
If I freeze up and my screen goes black, it's because I walked away.
Here, it's going to be up to me again, just like on our shows, James.
Just like usual. Yeah.
I can't hear you, James. What?
Yeah.
All right, pal. Good stuff here, and we'll see everybody live on Friday at 10. So we had fun today, talking a little Bucks, little Packers as we move forward here and getting close to Christmas. So we'll see everybody again on Friday. This has been Coshun Cast.